Okay, after this break, we can continue painting. And I'm looking what you see there on the screen and what I have here. You have definitely a darker picture on one hand. On the other hand, I like, yes, it's a picture for rocks is darker, and the water overall, if you compare my reference and reference which you have here and rocks, the water is darker and foreground even bluer. At the same time, you probably heard about a term which called valley contraction. So we have very dark areas like here, all kind of like in very dark, like probably like 7, 8, even 9, maybe even like almost 10 here in very dark crevices between rocks. At the same time, everything which is light here, it's all like 3, 2, 4. So there is a distance between them. So they're kind of contracted to the one band of lighter colors and to another band of darker colors. So we can work pretty much independently on them. And so we're not going to deviate from our regular way of painting. When we first layer, we start with lights, finishing with darks, and then with the second layer, we start with darks and finishing with lights. General idea, excuse me, will work well in this case. So as you see, my palette is cleaned, and I'm going to use this liquid medium only to clean my brush. And if you have Terpenoid Natural, that will be even better thing to wash your brush. Maybe you want to switch this jar to another jar, like or cup, with better cleaner. But anyway, liquid medium works pretty well. It's thin enough. So now I'm looking at all this area and thinking what brushes I need to use. Definitely from this point, we're using synthetic brushes like Kalinsky. Great. Most of the time we use now synthetics because it's more affordable, like a golden Teclone will work well if it's not for watercolor, if it's for oils and acrylics. So it's soft enough. And size 2, 3, 4, I don't see there are big areas here when we need to go with a wide brush. Maybe a sky area, that's the only place where we may need to maybe size 6 and to create those more vigorous brush strokes. At the same time, sky is quiet. There are no any kind of very sculptures, strong objects there. And even if we look at this reference, everything looks great. So we can work with this, or this doesn't matter for me. But since we're working with the darks, we may possibly want to see a little bit more of details. So what shall I do now? I want to start with the darkest darks here in area of these rocks. So I'll take a round brush or a small flat one, and we'll be working again with warmer darks as my burnt umber. And to make it kind of darker on one side, I'll mix it with ultramarine blue. I'm using good amount of medium because it's very hard to do this in one layer. And also, I may want to have a little bit different mix here. Let's say having some viridian. Viridian is actually not very thick. And with this and quinacridone, this looks pretty strong bluish mix. So adding a small amount of brown can calm it down slightly. How about adding a little bit more of a green here, more natural. All right, let's now kind of work on some of these areas to break areas of kind of bigger rocks and smaller rocks. Those who studied with me how I paint stone wall know that I like to find some larger rocks first, because define their shapes. And I see here another big rock. And somewhere in between, I will place the smaller ones. This is a huge one also. And you see here a couple of small ones. You cannot really follow exactly all details of the drawing, I mean of the reference image, but definitely it can inspire you and give you some hints how you will divide all that zones, all those areas. So having juxtaposed bigger rocks next to smaller ones create variety. And I'm working pretty much with almost like a dry brush. And outlining them is not a big problem. So I like, it's very hard to see what exactly this rock looks like. I like this rock, but then top of it, maybe I better kind of put it down like this. As you see, I'm working with brown and then adding blue, creating that color variety. This is our almost top layer. Maybe I'll apply a few on top, but definitely this, what I'm applying now, will be visible at the end. And it's a matter of design, how you create by your own imagination with hints from reference or from the real view, how you create this designs. Sorry, I stopped talking at times because I'm really trying to do my job. What I'm not commenting, otherwise I'd need to stop. And I'm rather artist than someone who speaks and learned how to speak. I can explain details, but it takes me time, especially when I paint. Sorry, that part of my brain doesn't process information very quickly. But I can systematize information, and I constantly work. My brain works. Will that be understandable for my students? And the answer usually is partially, always. Something will be understood well, but then some people need more training and maybe more time. So far, don't get upset. So I'm starting using transparent oxide brown, which is in this spot here. Again, if you haven't watched my prep video, it's in the link below. And the best, of course, to receive that link in email. So please subscribe to my mailing list for webinars. And basically all of my subscribers get that because my subscriber list is mainly for those who wants to learn painting, not just for my collectors. But if some collectors would like to learn how I painted that, because it's create a story of how painting was born. I'm glad I can share with you using these technologies and internet. All right, and then some parts look pretty same in size, so I can even break those parts to smaller parts, kind of like not gravel, but generally, so you see bigger boulders and smaller boulders. Anything which is peripheral should not have very kind of bright objects, kind of go smooth. If some areas got broken to very even details, I mean parts, trying to also divide some of them to smaller ones so they all together start looking as a variation. So it's a rather kind of pattern. This painting, this part, the whole painting could be done without flats. If you have just filberts, it's fine. If you have flats, it's fine. But filberts probably will work well for landscape like this, except of the posts maybe. Flats will really give you advantage in doing sharper edges around the boat, like edges of the boat. All right, so we passed about an hour overall of painting. I still want to, yes, so what we should do next. I still want to work on these rocks, even this layer which we just applied is not dry, and I will take a brush number 2. That's one of my favorite shorter handle brush, and I will try to make all this pile of rocks, their top areas and sides, which are not that dark. So this will be pretty much the same paints, maybe slightly cooler, maybe slightly more violet, because only tops will be kind of lighter and bluer. And let me how we can go to that. I'm not going to add white, even though white will be not bad idea. Let's go with yellow. I mean, with the raw sienna, yellow ochre will be too light. And even some orange. So adding some opaque paints, make it cooler, adding some white, very small amount. Because overall, I think this is very dark paint. And for bigger shapes, I want to make them more solid now. For you, it all looks very dark. Let me make it more visible for you. And now let's go with almost blue and a lighter one. So that's a bit of challenge, which I mentioned in my email. So painting rocks is not that easy. And that is why. So these rocks, they don't get much of the sunlight. So they have some glow from the sky reflected on them. It's overall, even though we have a pink clouds, it's cooler because of sky glowing stronger. And sometimes top of our rocks also could be yellowish because of weed. Let's add a small amount of yellow ochre here. I think after a few minutes, you'll start feeling how paint needs to be applied and that you need variety of colors here. So grabbing your paint from here, from there. So each rock look slightly different. Some of them are more reddish, some of them are greenish, some of them brownish. We're not going with the bright colors, but those shades of blue, shades of gray, definitely that's what we see in scenes like that. You don't have to go with a full load of paint. You can work with a kind of with a dry brush, with the shorter brush strokes. And that's a beauty actually of working with oils, because if your paint still stays wet, you don't want it to become dry right away. A little bit of orange is not a bad idea. Even green. So all varieties of colors seem to be showing up there. If you look with a lot of attention to your reference image, you'll see them as well. You need to get to that mode when you are kind of like dancing and jumping over the surface, adding color into different spots, creating the whole pattern of these rocks. So this area is light, right? It's on our reference, it's a little too low. I lifted that slightly up. And before you apply those lighter brush strokes, you kind of prepare surface. You want to go then with the yellow, that's fine. Absolutely fine with me. Just don't go with too much of yellow. It kind of should be more yellow than other areas around, but still not real open yellow. Orange in color, cadmium orange in this 1920 series definitely is not that great. So for other paints look all right for budget, but cadmium orange is one of those specific colors which can give me special mixes, and I don't really want to work much with that. Maybe for underpainting that should be all right, but for top layers I definitely want to have cleaner pigment. What you see there looks good, and if you feel that you got a little bit tired of that, you can go to foreground. There is less of responsibility what you do on foreground. There are less crevices to be like critically defining shape of rocks. Things go slightly easier here on foreground. So that all game of cooler and warmer colors. So that will be a fight between browns and blues. If you just will mix them, you'll get black or quite like a lack of character, gray color. Don't want that. I guess you want character in your rocks. We're not going here with any cadmium yellow. When we need to have a greenish yellow ochre is good enough. And you know, yes, if I had a chance to show you, so when you do this, you kind of don't always have to leave any space. You kind of like the rocks, they're touching each other. So any lines in between these rocks will be broken. And again, when you see the mass like that, things get lost. So some tops you can highlight accurately, not going with a bold brushstroke right away, but kind of, you see I'm shaking my brush quite often. That's the way as I try to imagine how this color will look like in this spot. Will it give effect, which I'm really looking for? Or it's going to be a mess? Or it's going to be inappropriate, need to be cleaned up after that? So try to create a variety of values. Since I'm using a lot of medium, my paint dries pretty quickly. And if I need to add more paint to make some spots darker or lighter, or the whole shape, yes, or line need to be corrected, that's not a problem at all. Again, or your video things look very dark, and if you can really do some sort of correction based on what I'm saying, I really highly encourage you to go slightly lighter in your overall rocks spots. This is kind of like wet rock which has reflection from the sky, and even that part should have extra different color. You can do very gently some light lines here, giving some edges which are perpendicular to the sky, giving more light for them. So you can add that at the end. But I'm afraid that we don't have much time, and you will not see exactly my last brush strokes, because that takes me some time to rest from my painting and then to look at them again and find with precision where those brush strokes supposed to be. And maybe some blue could be cerulean blue, not always have to be ultramarine based mixes. So slightly away from our site, from where we're standing, we can create less division and make them slightly more connected. And that's also because of angle of observation is different. We'll have more of blue there, maybe. So keep few paints there, like on your palette, having that orange with white and red and purples. And it's not a surprise if part of some wet rocks here will even catch small amount maybe of the light from the sail. I think in all these group, one of the rocks which is prominent is this one, right? No questions. And we can make it slightly more visible when we add slightly darker shadow under it. It's probably quite dark already on your image. You can go with a thin size, like a round brush. Not afraid to make some breaks. Again, when you paint something like that and you stop seeing, you're kind of creating pattern which gets way too regular. Or if you're doing this talking over the phone, that's gonna probably make you to go on autopilot, and that's not good when you work on design. Design requires constant re-evaluation of most of brush strokes which you just placed and correcting them. Otherwise, your brain will put you to the mode when you are doing something very ordinary and regular. I'm adding some green here as well because the brown is basically very dark red and green is here is complementary color. Will create a nice contrast when it's cool, and when it's green it can really show seaweed, whatever lichen or seaweed growing on the surface of these rocks. Definitely there is some green present. I don't think I got this prominence of this rock visible. Maybe if we take some round brush like this and more of an orange. You know, since our paint is wet, if I apply this not great cadmium orange, which is yellowish, straight here, okay, adding a little bit of green here, a little bit of blue here, and then we'll mix this all with my flat brush, just with very short brush strokes. This may work better. Definitely that area is more visible. If you're annoyed with that orange, you always can go adding green on it. Not bad, right? And again, there is a nice lighter boulders here. Again, not going to go put them that low, but looks like compositionally placing it somewhere here and here would be, I would suggest, I'm suggesting to myself doing so, and if you want you can do that too. I think way too warm. Let's go with white and blue. And if we do that like with other rock, that's gonna be slightly different. Cannot be absolutely the same. So directions of these brush strokes can be corrected, and this is almost endless. It's like a game. You can chase it a lot. If you're in plein air trying to get this scene, don't play this game. It's very catchy. We're doing it in a comfort of our studios. I have limited time, you have unlimited time. can watch it slow, you can watch it fast, you can watch it again. What I'm trying to do now is to finish this area because we have less than an hour left for painting it. And also this area will look different once we apply here colors. It's possible that we can really extend and go that way because we have all this area kind of defined already. And you would say, oh, sorry. With a dry brush, you can finish some lines. Just don't make them interrupted. You know, that's how rocks usually look like. If there are some cracks and crevices, they also do not usually span through entire whatever rock. Okay, that area, I think there is a transition here. I think we did pretty well, except of a couple of additional brush strokes which are calling me to apply. This looks nice. Again, adding some lines like on the edge of the rock is a great thing to do after you rest it, after you've finished kind of major shapes, and then you think, what else shall I do there? You start seeing areas where there is a lack of lines, things look too solid. You see I'm working on top with a grayish blue. Even though for these tops of rocks, kind of this value looks good, but that's a thin paint. It's really not how we need to leave that area. Definitely need to apply some kind of more opaque paint on top of it, and possibly try to create color complexity. Just try not to be that simple. On the edge, slight transition of the color, not only of value but of color as well. Please remember that. It will take a few more times going back and forth to understand and maybe zoom in to see what exactly water comes between rocks, what really is going on here. Remember that again, on top and edge of the rock, there could be some more weed on the side, it could be wet. You need to put some sort of transition of color, and that color, sorry, value-wise, it's going to be lighter, but color-wise, chromatically, it could be different. It's not like going, you know, from yellow to green. It could be cooler green, lighter but cooler green. It's not just mixing between of these two colors. All right, it feels that all these complex here need to be somehow connected, and I want to make it slightly lighter. If I go lighter, I'm not going to go just with a lighter brown. I want to make it maybe more of a reddish brown. And I want to connect them. And then I will go with green somewhere, kind of trying to kill that redness. in some parts somewhere I will leave them. That's one of the maneuvers we can go with, and that will create some color vibration. And where it's too much red and you don't want any more green, you can go with browns. And purples in addition. All right. My lighter rock, which is peripheral, but it's peripheral at the same time. It's very busy area. Don't think we are in big trouble if I will show it. And top of this rock is in fact cooler and sides are warmer. Again, because of the sky, that would be my best guess why. It's very light rock. All right. So now I think size number 2 of my brush is not going to work well. So let me go with a round. And size-wise, it really will not tell you anything because of sizes. Each brand make whatever numbers they like. So number 2 in one company could be so different from number 2 made by a different company. No, I think it's too early to go with my darks behind the boat under the mooring. Let's pay attention to the boat. Boat is this one is gray. If you look at it closer, and it's actually black with a reflection of gray. I decided that my boat will be cool green. If you have other ideas, go for it. Absolutely have no issues with that. I just want to make sure again it's not just uniform color. It's not a rock. It has no crevices. It has maybe some imperfection in shape. So overall it's smooth, has smooth sides, even if it's not like a tube boat. You know, sides of the boat quite often also catch some sort of reflexes. I want to separate the boat from these rocks, and you can see that I'm using different tools for that. Making it darker, making it greener, cool green, which is not that typical for nature. Not too much, and could be a little bit it can catch reflexes easier than rocks would do. And top of my boat is white, and inside the boat is kind of white, so since it doesn't catch much of the sunlight is very, in fact, it's very, very warm here. So and it's kind of pinkish. Let's show top like this. And I wish I had like size number, yes, number 1 of flat. Just want to show some like seats area. almost like with a dry brush. There is some gear, some whatever could be inside of the boat. This looks pretty dark, I mean pretty light and contrast at this time, but we didn't work on this boat yet, so it will definitely be pulling more attention, will be pulling much attention, because this is kind of halfway between rocks and everything else around, so it's kind of hiding between rocks. All right, let me work on rocks behind the mooring, and again round. Now I need to make mooring deck straight enough. Looks like some rocks are even kind of orange color. Some rocks catch more of a light. Trying to go with white, but definitely when it goes too artificial white. So let's do it like this. So now looks like top of this rock slightly sunlit and they're pinkish. Not worry about that line. You always, when it will be painting the ocean, you will chop it off, you will carve it. All right, now let's work on the mooring itself. It looks like side is greenish and top is bluish. So let's, and greenish, it's a gray, cool color. Next to this color, usually orange looks very well, very nice. Okay. And top is lighter. Shall I do it now? Why not, actually? It feels like the boat itself lacks a few little accents. Right, top. I don't want top of this mooring to jump ahead of before the boat, and it probably boat has more significance, so I will go create that line thin enough and soft enough. But I cannot leave it without deck, without top, otherwise it may look like fence. It already looks like fence, but with these posts will give better idea what exactly is that line. Right. So is it time for me to do boat, the distant boat? Why not? What about this seaweed? Will I be able to put it on top of the of the water in this cove? Likely. So doing a little break and analysis. I'm not very happy with orange of this series 1980. If I go, unless we go with a thicker paint application. Let's see how that will be. Okay, let's try. Since again sky around that is not painted yet, I can compare it maybe overall with the value of this area, which I think is very accurate. And in values, this orange for me looks pretty much as those grayish purples around. So let's mix our base with medium again, and with some colors adding addition as well. Starting with a dark enough paints. because this orange is so weak. And again, maybe this is too much, this area. I'm trying to push it back into the spot where my boat is. We can zoom it in if you want to see more details, but I don't think we need to do all these dark lines. And we don't want those lines to be very sharp. We'd rather kind of show there is something darker under the boat, just give a suggestion, and extra like lines there, highlights, can be done later. Also, I'm going slightly cooler, almost like bluish in this area, because that's where we have a sliding light and reflection from the sky. I think things go pretty well with a flat brush. So now I'm not just going with orange and white. It's going to be very cool, and we need to gain more of a pink and yellow as well. So this quinacridone could be not bad thing to work with. And this is now we lost all orange, so let's get slightly more of orange here. Yes, if it was a class, I definitely would have some zoom in, so you could see better those brush strokes I'm applying on the area of the sail. It's not that shiny. I just have no power with these pigments to go better. See, I'm adding pretty much like straight pigment here and mixing it with what I have already applied. Just trying to push it slightly lighter. And with this quinacridone, it's when it's clean, without any mixes, it looks pretty nice. Maybe I need to change my brushes more often. It's not bad, so we'll make slightly softer transition. And then the boat itself is white, but since it's lit by the sun, it looks yellowish and pinkish at the same time. So what I'm applying now has cadmium lemon, has some nice sharper edges. Will it be too much? We'll see later. Right now it's hard to say, but that I think works pretty nice. All right, we're done with the boat, and we're done a lot with this area as well. Again, I'm not paying much attention to our posts here. So what I'm going to do is to work on sky and the water. And I would like to take a little break here because we're painting for almost like 15 minutes in our second part.